You are listening to the CWL podcast. Are you ready? Hello, everybody. It's Kate. I am the host of the Creative Women's League podcast. With 2 weekly podcasts and an amazing online community, CWL is always dishing up motivation, inspiration, know-how, and of course, community. We have an amazing community here. There is 2 weekly podcasts. Today, you are listening to our amazing interview episode. This is where I get to interview one creative badass, and she tells us her journey to get where she is today. There is always so many inspiring nuggets of information in this episode. I love sharing them. And you can always tune in to Mondays. Those are quick little 10-minute-ish episodes. We just get our motivation up for the week, get our mindset right. I love it. Always, 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 there are great things happening over on our Instagram at Creative Women's League. I know a lot of you listen to the show, but you haven't joined us over on Instagram yet. Please do it. There is so much more to this community than these fantastic podcasts. And if you're not an Instagram person, but you are a Facebook person, there is always the Facebook group. Go ahead and search Creative Women's League. And from there, you can find our Facebook page to give a like to. You can also join the group. I hope to see you over there. I love getting to know each and every one of you. So if you have listened to an interview episode before, you know that this is the part of the episode where I give somebody a shout out for reviewing the podcast. So if you head over to iTunes, write a review of the podcast, and leave your Instagram name, I will give you a shout out here. Now this one today does not have an Instagram name, which makes me kind of sad, but it's just my way of doing you a favor for doing me a favor, because whether it is this podcast, another podcast you listen to, one of the best ways to help is to write a review. It's a big deal. Today's review is from Nikki87496. Yeah, I think I said all those numbers right. And she says, awesome. 5 stars. This podcast is awesome, super empowering, and a great listen for all women. Thank you so much, Nikki. I really appreciate it. So when you go leave your review, don't forget to leave your Instagram name. And if you don't listen on iTunes, therefore you cannot leave a review on iTunes, you can always head over to the Facebook page, Creative Women's League, and leave your review there. It's another fantastic way to help me out. I appreciate you so much. You guys are so kind. Thank you, Nikki. It was really nice. This episode has been a very long time in the making. Sara Leigh from Stitch of Whimsy and I have been talking about this for a while, and we finally made it happen. If you are not following Sara, then please go check out her amazing works of art on Instagram at Stitch of Whimsy. Knowing how unique and beautiful her whimsical little taxidermied stuffed animal heads are is really an important part of her story, because I hear so many of you every day telling me that there is no market for the thing that you love most. Sara is here to show you how you can make a living off of the unusual, unique, whimsical designs that you love to make. Your buyer is out there, so let's go find them. I'm not going to bore you, so let's go ahead and dive right in. This is Sara from Stitch of Whimsy, and I hope you enjoy. Hi, Sara. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Kate?
I'm doing fab. So this is a long time in the making. I'm so excited that we finally are talking.
I know we have talked about this for a long time. I'm really happy to be here. I am on it. Like, I have to say, I'm totally flattered that you would even pick me to be on your podcast. I love your podcast.
Oh my God.
This is the first one I've ever been on.
Oh, I'm so excited now. And I'm so flattered you'd be on. I am obsessed with the gorgeous things you make. So this is very exciting. And we actually, one of the times we tried to start talking, did you just you got married, right?
Oh, I did get married last summer. Yep, on 4th of July.
Yeah.
We've been together for like 20 years, so it wasn't a huge change or anything. But his parents had gotten married on 4th of July many years before, and his mom passed away, unfortunately. So we wanted to kind of honor them, and we just decided, why not? Let's do it.
That's so cute. I love it. What a sweet thing. I'm a sucker for sweet things, so I'll just start crying at the drop of a hat.
Oh, well, we'll get along just fine, then. I'm a pretty sentimental person.
Perfect. So before we get started, will you just introduce yourself and tell everybody what it is that you do?
Okay, yeah, I am Sara Leigh, also known as Stitch of Whimsy, and I guess now I am pretty notorious for big-eyed faux taxidermy. I also paint and draw. I make pretty much everything I can get my hands on, but the faux taxidermy pieces have really kind of taken off in the last few years and become my actual job.
Yeah, and they're gorgeous because it's like unicorns, and I want one of the bats so bad. The bat is so cute.
You got it. We'll talk after this.
Yeah.
I'll get you a bat. I like the bats too.
The bats are so cute. I have a tattoo of bats, so it'll go so perfect. So I really I believe I just came across you because of all the gorgeous things you do. Instagram is perfect for that, finding people who make very creative and cool different things. So
Instagram is amazing. It is any artist's best friend. It's the best thing that's pretty much ever happened to me, to be honest.
We still have a few listeners who will email me and say I'm not on Instagram. And I'm like, please just do it because it's so visual.
Get on Instagram. And I know it's frustrating now with all the algorithm changes and all that. So, I notice I read a lot of people kind of bad-mouthing it. Oh, you're never going to get seen. It's definitely harder, but you're still out there. I say put yourself out on any site that you can. I'm still on Flickr. I mean, like everywhere that you can go. Pinterest, Flickr, Facebook, whatever you do. Even if it's not popular for you, it doesn't mean that one day it won't be.
Absolutely. And all it takes is the right person coming across it at the right time.
Absolutely, yeah. And one person to repost something that you've made and can make or break it, really.
Yeah, definitely. So have you always sewn? Were you always a sewist?
I've always been, painting and drawing is like my number one. That is what I've always done since I was super Did you hear that?
What was that?
That was Voldemort laughing. That was my text alert. So we'll try that question again. It's like an evil laugh. All of a sudden, I didn't turn that down. So, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go back to this.
Okay. So have you always sewn?
Sewing is a little bit newer to me. I've always been really into drawing and painting. That was like my first love, my one true love. But I got a sewing machine for Christmas, probably when I was in like sixth grade or so. My mom just randomly got me one, and it all just started. Kind of self-taught. I started like making curtains for people and sewing bags to my classmates, and it just really evolved clearly into a strange thing.
Yeah. But that's awesome. It just sounds like you've always been very in touch with having a creative side and making sure you have a creative outlet.
Yes, I like to use every possible outlet I can. It's really fun to try different mediums.
Yeah. And it sounds like your mother was wonderfully supportive.
Yeah, definitely. Very supportive. Always supportive with whatever I wanted to do in the art field. So that definitely helped. I feel bad for anybody that doesn't have that. It's got to be really, really hard.
Yeah, there was a moment in high school because I had parents that were like, well, if you want to just be a McDonald's mascot, you could do it forever and be great at it. So I had parents who were like unconditionally supportive. And then I'd go to school and I'd meet girls who were like, oh, my dad won't let me be an artist, even though they're phenomenal. So it's very interesting.
Yes, I've seen that too. I've seen it too. It's just got to be so hard. It's really terrible.
And were you living you said you're from West Palm when we started?
Yeah, I was born in West Palm Beach. I pretty much lived in Florida my whole life, give or take a few years. I did go to college in Atlanta for almost 4 years for computer animation. Throughout that time, I've always made creatures, like always designed characters and made them in any medium I could. So it just seemed like the logical next step to like turning it into a real job would be to maybe animate them. But I learned, unfortunately, very quickly on throughout that schooling experience that I am not cut out for just sitting in front of a computer and animating things. It just wasn't working for me. Like I wasn't, I mean, maybe I would have got there eventually, but it wasn't hands-on enough for me. It wasn't feeling right. And I never finished that one. And I'm kind of glad because now I don't owe them as much money.
Yeah. Well, and I've heard that from a lot of people, that it's totally different to make 2D art than it is to make 3D art. And sometimes it just doesn't satisfy the same urge.
Yeah, it's definitely so. I mean, I was for one of my jobs while I was in college, I was, again, like sewing random things for people, making a lot of purses. That's kind of how I started off business-wise with sewing. I started a business I called Sara Leigh handbags. Very simple, because I thought, well, nobody's going to want to buy anything that's not usable, right?
Yeah.
Just like how I thought I need to go to school and do the animation, everything that you're told. You have to turn this artistic passion into something that makes sense to the world. Who is going to buy something that they can't use, like an animal head? It's kind of how I used to think about things. But I don't know. I'm pretty much the complete opposite at this point in my line of thinking.
Yeah, that is interesting. I think we all kind of go through that. Like, well, I like to do this thing. How do I turn it into something that people are actually going to use and
exactly. Yeah, so people don't think I'm nuts. How am I going to make this a job?
Exactly.
So I was, selling purses, making purses, selling them to my classmates, and, enjoying that a lot more than I was my computer time throughout school. Just wasn't for me.
So how did the sales of the handbags go?
They went pretty well. I did good with it. Among that time, I was still very young and working a million jobs. I mean, I would have up to 3 jobs at a time almost my entire life. So, none of this really came easy for me. But I did love doing it. I set up a little website, and that would be my first experience with, commissioned pieces where people could choose the shape of the bag, the color, any details they wanted. And then I started to really enjoy that, how I could get creative with the ideas that people had. And I learned a lot doing that, which I now use in my, Stitch of Whimsy business with the taxidermy. It's like all the little things that you do kind of come together one day and end up being... Yeah, you learn about it. It's the Slumdog Millionaire effect.
That's so funny because I reference Slumdog Millionaire way too many times in my life because they'll be have a random piece of information. I'll be like, no, it's just a Slumdog Millionaire moment. But it's true. Yes,
I say it all the time. Yes, it's so true. All the things you think are annoying, even waiting tables. I learned that people are crazy. I learned a lot of patience. I learned a lot of math. There's a lot of things that you learn everything you do. So I just advise anybody trying to take a step into creative business to not be too hard on themselves if they can't do it right away, because you are learning something valuable as long as you're doing something.
That is so true. I believe in that so much. It all just compounds. And I mean, I was a barista. Now I just know how to make a killer cup of coffee for people. That's always good information.
That's extremely helpful. Yes, this is extremely important in the world.
Then when people are like, well, I don't understand how to use this French press, I'm like, well, I can be of service to you.
Yep, there you go. It's always something.
Always something. So did this purse business, did you start to grow this into a full-time side gig?
Well, with that, I didn't get to actually go full-time with art until exactly 1 year ago, last week or yesterday, honestly.
Yeah.
But with this, I started to take my stuff out on the road, as in doing craft shows and things like that, learning how to set up displays, how to do stuff. That's where I started getting experience in meeting people that liked my stuff, getting a little bit more experience out in the world was super helpful. And by doing that, I did it for a couple of years with Sara Leigh handbags. After a few years of regular shows, I was like, okay, I want to make dolls. I want to make faux taxidermy. I want to make things that are a little bit more unusual. And since I have some customers coming back for the bags, maybe they will accept me. And they did. It actually went really well. And then I became more and more in love with just making the creatures and weird animals and unusual things that I don't think I have made a single bag in I don't know, probably 8 or 9 years.
Yeah. Well, I've heard a lot of people say, I'm making this thing. I have to go do conventions. The big ones aren't where I am, but I can't go do them with my day job. So how are you able to make it happen? Make it happen so that you could go do these things.
Yeah, I just fought for it.
Yeah.
There came a point where you have to put your foot down and no, we need you to work on a weekend. And it was, I'm not coming. I'm not, because you have to do you first. You really do. Especially if it's something that you're this passionate about. I just refuse. I'm taking the day off. I'm doing this. I gave everybody plenty of notice. And I just wouldn't take no for an answer as far as that. You know, there might be a few that I missed here and there if I was going through like a financial hardship or something like that long ago. But I regretted it every time.
Yeah. So it's more just about making it happen for yourself.
Yeah, you just got to do it. You have to be aggressive too sometimes, you know, because you know, you're getting these jobs and an employer will, you work for them. They're going to take all that they can from you, but you got to put your foot down.
Yeah.
You want to work for yourself.
So were you, like saving up to be able to do these shows? Was that something that you just made sure that you were making happen?
Yeah, I would save money because it does, you know, you have to pay for your booth setup. There's always a fee. You have to pay if you're missing work for the day. You have to stock up all your inventory and really hope that you sell it. You have to build a display. But I just, you know, I think I started off kind of slow where maybe I did one every 6 months and then it turned into one every 3 months. And, you know, it gets easier and easier. I used to get so nervous. I just can't even believe it talking about it. So nervous. Yeah. My friends would attest to this. I would drive them crazy. Just like, oh, no, I hope everything looks okay. Am I going to have enough stuff? Are people going to like this? Maybe I should have done this. I've been not sleeping the night before, just like insane nervousness before these shows. And now I feel like I can just throw everything in the car, show up, and it's no big deal. So if you're out there and you're getting nervous, it will get better. That's
awesome. Yeah. It's just like working out a muscle, right? Like you just get more used to it. And,
yes.
And
sometimes you got to tear it a little bit to rebuild it.
Yeah. 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 And you'll have weird situations be thrown at you and that'll freak you out. And then you'll know how to deal with it. Then guess what?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, you know, credit card machines going down, all that. Just remember, none of it is the end of the world. You know, it's an arts and crafts show.
Yeah.
You will be okay. I have found that, you know, I started, every now and then I do, like, bigger ones, like the big conventions in Orlando. I did one last year. That wasn't so much for me. You know, I put a lot into it thinking that this was going to be, you know, I was going to reach all these, like, new people that I'd never met before, doing something with such a huge attendance, and I just wasn't feeling it. I kind of like the smaller ones that are a little bit more selective in their vendors, a little more artistic.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's just, you know, there's a place for everybody. You don't have to do all the big ones. There's definitely big ones out there I'd love to get to. It's just, you know, hard to travel sometimes, but
do you have advice?
There's so many choices.
Yeah. Definitely. And that makes sense that you're not going to love every single one of them, but you can't let that get you down.
Exactly. You just got to keep trying.
Yeah. And do you have advice for somebody who did just save up to go to a show? They were like so excited about it. And then the show was kind of a bust for them. Like, did you ever have situations like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I hope that whoever you are, if this has happened to you, make yourself a social media page, as many as you possibly can, and put all of your stuff in an Etsy shop. It's super easy to set up. That way, you know, you still have inventory. You want to have inventory in your shop every chance that you can so that people can accidentally find you. So, you know, if you put in a bunch of work and made a bunch of things and they didn't sell, at least you have them made now. They're still out there. That is an achievement. And, you know, somebody will buy them. You just have to find your audience.
I love that. Yeah, because it can be disheartening to go home with all this stuff, but the awesome...
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, it's awful. It's the worst. You know, you're like, they didn't like me. Nobody loves me. Why did I do this? Oh, I spent all my money. But, you know, I've had them. I've definitely had them. I've had shows where I've practically sold out within 20 minutes. I've had shows where I've, you know, been there for 2 days and sold a handful of items.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know. Nothing is a sure thing. It never.
And I'm sure you can't predict it.
Yeah, I don't think so. If somebody out there can, then please let Kate know so she can tell us the tricks. But I don't think so.
Because I feel like the moment that I'm like, I know exactly how this is gonna go, that's never how it's gonna go.
It's like the first. Okay. As soon as you say that, you got to know. I shouldn't have even thought that or said that because that is completely not what's going to happen now.
Yeah,
I like to just be like, now that's what you probably notice. My attitude is like, you know what? Just try. Just make what you love and just keep trying as hard as you can. And something has to work out. Like they always say, do what you love and the money will follow. I really, really believe that. I really do.
Yeah, I think you're good. I think the proof is in the pudding for you. Like, it's really cool to watch. I because I followed you for a while now. So it's really cool to watch the growth of Stitch of Whimsy.
Well, thank you. It's my baby. I don't have children, so Stitch of Whimsy is like my baby at this point. It's like for my pet. And
I love it.
And she has grown a lot over the last couple of years, but at the same time, I still see like so much that I need to do, and there's so much I want to do, and I feel like I'm just barely scratching the surface and just getting started in a weird way.
That's fantastic, though. Like, you can't think you're, if you aren't growing, you're dying, or whatever that quote is.
Yeah, it's endless. We call it, me and my husband call it chasing the carrot. Like, you're always chasing the carrot. You get a goal like, if I get to this many Instagram followers, I will just feel so good. Like, I've really reached as many people as I want. And then you get there and you're like, actually, what if I did this? And that's not enough. And this other person has these ones, but, you don't want to compare yourself to too many people, because that never works either.
No, that's very true. So do you think that that going to these conventions and seeing like people selling wares that were very much themselves, very out there things, not useful things, and getting them sold, do you think that helped push you towards your adorable little taxidermy heads?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And, even if I didn't ask those people how they did at the show or didn't know them well, just seeing somebody put so much time and energy and love into something super creative, like, I've met some really great artist friends that make things that I've never seen anywhere before. And it's so inspiring to me that no matter what happened to them, at the show or the week before or on their Etsy site throughout the whole year, they are just continuing to make products that are true to themselves. It's really an art to it, more than just being a craft show where you're, and I'm not saying this, is bad for anyone out there that does things like this, but something little that you throw together and it doesn't have so much of like so much art to it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Sorry. I thought that was
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And I just like that, I don't know. I just always get excited by people who are going from something that they think like, this is something I should sell that will do well, into, oh no, this is what I love. And even though it's totally different, and even though it's not useful in a conventional way, I just love when people start chasing those things. So I like the idea that you're like...
Yeah, exactly. You put that in much more clear terms.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, because then it's like, it is useful. You have to have cute things in your house to make you happy. But it's...
art is so important, it helps with your imagination. It really creeps me out when I make a new friend and I go to their house and it looks like a hotel, because mine is just wall to wall weird art that I found. Yeah. And I just think it's so important that you express yourself through everything that you do. It's like it feeds the soul all the time.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially your cute little, they're just so cute. Oh, I love them so much. So let's talk about transitioning over into dolls. What made you start to want to do dolls and then eventually discover this adorable taxidermy heads, faux taxidermy?
Yeah, the dolls and taxidermy, they all kind of came out, probably within the same year or 6 months of each other. I just, I was looking at the things that I like to draw and paint, and it was cute animals or, these big-eyed little girls, and I love painting and drawing so much, but again, I always kind of felt like I need to find something at least different to get myself out there, because it seems to me very hard to be seen as just a visual artist in the painting drawing field.
Yeah.
It's a really huge, it's huge world out there with stuff like that. So, I wanted to kind of continue to sew, and I also wanted to bring my drawings to life. So I started making dolls and the animal heads, because that way I could kind of do both things that I love.
And so what were the first days of that like? Was it awkward to start to, did you ever work off a pattern? Did you just start to, all right, well, let me figure this out?
I made my own patterns, But I did, I Googled whatever I could, and I would go over to like Joann's and look at their pattern books, just kind of get an idea. I was nervous about using a pattern because I wanted them to be, kind of all mine, but at the same time, the doll patterns or even the animal heads are really a basic shape that, anybody out there has access to. I just always kind of felt like I would like it to at least the curvature and the size of it, be my own. So I kind of always like to draw my own. It was definitely awkward in the beginning, figuring it all out. I wish I could show you photos of the beginning Whimsies versus the ones now, because man, they are so different. I have one hanging up in my room, and every time I look at it, I just want to throw it away. But it's, it's where they started from, and it's important. And people still like them too. It's just me, but that doesn't.
Right.
Yeah, it was, lots of trial and error and figuring out different ways to make them completely unique and their details and the eyes. They've come a long way.
Yeah, I bet. I've seen a lot of people, and I myself have been like, I have this great thing I want to execute on, but now I have no idea where to start from there. So I'm always interested in seeing what the early days of the design process look like. And just a lot of trial and error.
With anything, the first thing to do is, draw up what you would like to make. Prepare yourself that it may not look that way when it's done. Right. And try to get yourself a pattern, but bottom line, it's just do it. You can only plan so much for anything. I mean, you could plan this product that you have in your head for a year, and it still might not come out the way you want it to or be successful. So the best thing I think everyone should do, and I, have to kick myself about this, is just start. Just do it. Stop planning it all. Just do it. Yeah. I don't know if that slogan is taken already. Just do it, but it'll be a good one for me.
Yeah, we should. Well, the CWL will use it. That's
we'll use that one. That's a good one.
And that's huge. That's my problem. Like, I'm totally the type of person who's like, it's all right. I will just keep planning. And eventually I'll feel so prepared that I'll be ready to dive in. But that doesn't happen, really.
Yeah, I mean, there's totally an excitement, though. I'm sure you understand, of the planning phases, right? Planning what it's going to be like, the expectations and everything. It's definitely a part of the whole process. I enjoy it too, but I have to be really, kind of hard on myself with it. These certain animals I've been wanting to do for years, and one day it's like, okay, you just have to do it right now. Maybe you have other things you should do. Maybe, you should work out the ear size or whatever. Just do it. Just get it done.
Yeah, get it done. Absolutely.
Somebody out there is going to like it.
Yeah.
Somebody. Whether they find you right away or not, I don't know, but somebody is going to love what you're doing. You just got to do it.
So were you super excited to launch these heads? Were you nervous? Were you like, what the heck am I thinking?
I was actually a little bit nervous. They started off kind of tiny. They were on 8x10 frames, but tiny, like the size of a baseball, whereas now they're more the size of a soccer ball. So I just made these, and they had buttons for eyes. And I brought them out to one of my regular craft shows, probably the fourth year that I'd been there selling, handbags, maybe dolls the year before. And there were definitely a lot of people, which I still get them all the time, oh, well, that's creepy. Yeah. Oh, look, she cuts the heads off of stuffed animals and glues them onto frames. Oh, I could do that. It's always the same commentary you hear in the background. But then there's the other people that just loved it right away. This is so funny. They're so cute. What a strange little thing to have in your house. I found that a lot of people were buying them as gifts for the hunters in their lives, as a joke.
Yeah.
Oh my God, my husband hunts, and I'm going to hang this right next to the deer head in my living room to show him, or get it for my son. And that kind of just surprised me. I didn't expect those people, But it was. I was a little nervous about it, and they seemed to like it, so I just kept going.
Yeah, I kept going and developing, and blew them all up to soccer.
They got more and more fun.
Yeah.
They grew up now. Now they're nice and big.
So that is funny how you might have had an idea of who was going to buy these. And then it seems like it kind of blew your expectations out of the water of the people who would be like, oh no, I have to have this.
Yes. Yeah. It's a continuous mystery to me. It really is. Who will be my number one customers? It's all different kinds of people. They're out there, They just had to find me.
Yeah. So all along, were you keeping up with social media, making sure you're on things like Etsy and Instagram?
I started an Etsy shop, I think 10 years ago for Stitch of Whimsy, in September or something of this year. And I have never been that good at keeping it stocked. You know, it probably had a lot to do with me working so many other jobs and it being like, you know, this being my side hustle. It was just really hard. Like, you know, you take everything to a show and it sells, and then it's a long amount of time to get things restocked on top of taking commissions from people. But I'm still probably not that good at it. It takes a lot of time to make what I do, and it's hard for me, you know, and like some people that have maybe a print shop, it's a little bit easier. They can just throw things up there. But I've always tried, you know, I always try to at least have that link and try to have something in there. And whenever you sell items, you know, most people that are Etsy savvy can figure out how to look at your sold items. So that's still kind of like a database of things that you've done.
Yeah.
I try to use Facebook pages, the business pages, which is it's been good for me. I don't post on there as much as I should. I'm not perfect at any of this stuff by any means. And Instagram has been my number one. I mean, it really I had a couple of people start reposting my stuff. I always try to repost other art. If you like someone, guys, a side note, if you like art out there and you don't have the money to buy it, that's totally fine. It is so helpful to every artist if you just share their work. Tell someone about it. It's amazing how many people you can reach like that. It's the little free ways that you can support one another that have made such a huge difference for me personally. I'm a direct result of that happening.
That is such a cool point. I never thought about it that way. That if you yourself aren't in the place where you can support that artist right now, just helping them get their name out is huge.
It's so helpful. I mean, it means I had, one of my favorite artists repost something that I had made her. And literally from that night on, it was, a constant growth. It was amazing. Just, she would take the time to do such a thing. It was so helpful. So I try to do it every chance I get. I think it's so important you keep that art community together and you all help each other.
Yeah, that is so cool. I love that. I love it. So what, you have your job, your day job that you're working, and then you decide this is it. It's finally time. I'm going just to work on Stitch of Whimsy. What brought you to that point?
Well, what brought me to that point was many, many years of longing and dreaming of it. When I was at another job, I'm waiting tables and I'm sketching on my waitress pad as the, customers are deciding what they want to drink, and just literally daydreaming and fantasizing about, one day, I'll be able to work at home and just focus on my art. It's almost it's so scary to do. I know that I'm not alone on this. Whoever is out there going through it or thinking about it, it's really terrifying because you don't know if you're going to be accepted. You don't know if it's the right thing to do. Or people are going to take you seriously, will be able to support yourself. So I really played the long game with it. I slowly dropped jobs off of my list. I started with 3 jobs, and Stitch of Whimsy was my side hustle, then down to 2, then down to 1. And then finally my day job, I went down to 2.5 days a week. It was very odd.
Yeah.
And then finally, once a week, I just slowly eased out of it and just started doing it. It wasn't nothing all of a sudden happened. It was just something I always wanted to do. I mean, from the time I was little, I knew that I'm an artist. That's the one thing that makes me feel like myself. It's just what I do. There's nothing that I think I'm better at or ever will be better at. So, I mean, I guess it came to a matter of getting older. I didn't want to miss my chance. I didn't want to go one more year and look back and be I should have done it. I should have done it last year. Because it's scary. I'm how am I going to do taxes? How am I going to do the shop? What do I do? All the logistics scared me. And I guess one day I did kind of have a break and was you know what? I'm never going to figure it out if I don't do it. So let's just get there. Yeah, it's going to be hard for a while. I allow myself that knowledge that it's going to be hard for a while. But eventually I will look back and know what the hell I'm doing. Like, it's got to happen at some point. The longer you do something, you will figure it out. So I just had to get there.
Yeah, and I love that you weaned yourself off, because we have all sorts on the podcast. You know, someone will be like, I quit my job and then I just had to make it happen. And
yep.
That's scary for some people. Like, I'm one of the people that would be scary for.
It is scary, yeah. I was kind of, like, I slowed down, but at the same time, it's so easy to be comfortable where you're doing and fearful that, It makes sense.
Yeah. I just love that you did it your own way. You're like, okay, we'll wean off. You'll get slowly more and more comfortable with it becoming more of your main gig. And then it's really easy to take the leap into being a full-time.
Yeah, it definitely was helpful, like going down to the 2 days a week, 2.5 days a week, because I got the opportunity to work, the rest of the week just to stitch a Whimsy and just kind of pretend that I didn't have the other job, pretend that it doesn't exist. It was like playing house in a way. And then eventually it was like, all right, let's pull the rug out and just do it.
Yeah.
It was probably, a good idea for me. So I didn't totally freak out.
And do you still go back and work with them sometimes?
I was just going to say that. I do still go back from time to time. This is one thing. I've worked for this place. It's just a local little independent health food store. I've worked there since I was 15 years old, off and on. I am 36 now. And I just love it. So I still have them call me in when people are going on vacation or if somebody's sick. So I usually see them maybe 1 to 2 days a month. And it's been really good for me because still, hey, it's a little something. I do have that cushion. So, maybe I pulled the rug out from under me, but should something really terrible happen, at least I do have a place I could go back to. I didn't burn any bridges there. And I got really, really lonely after I finally quit that job.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot, that it's nice to keep those avenues open because it can be lonely to just be a creator.
That was one of those things I have to say, I didn't really even think of it. I had always longed to spend that time by myself, like working at home, and thought like, oh, I got my dogs, I got my cats, husband's in and out. I've got my great friends. We'll have dinner all the time, blah, blah, blah. But it became something else. It was really, really hard for me. I think I'm like a lot more of a social creature than I knew. And I got really, really sad. It started to kind of give me a hard time. So I started to Google things, joining groups. I think that's how I found you too, aside from us chatting. It's just like, looking for podcasts, social media groups, any kind of social network where I might be able to meet people that were into the same things I am.
Yes.
And maybe going through the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Community is huge. It is
huge.
Especially, obviously I'm a big fan of finding a community that is into the same things you are, creative community, because I just love being able to, I think it's just so important and so innate in all of us to be able to share our experiences with people, bounce ideas off of people, or even just be like, hey, how was that vacation you went on?
Exactly. Yeah, it's really, I've met some really great friends, just through Instagram. I've never met them before, but I would totally consider them friends just over the last year, because I left myself a little more open to sharing more about myself with these people, realizing like I need to build a community that I don't have to leave my work to talk to. I can write to them during the day amidst everything and not be, sacrificing the time that it takes, because, creative work at home, it takes a lot of time. Everything takes a lot of time. You know what I'm talking about. Like, people think I don't know, people don't realize that either. It's, between shopping for your supplies to, prepping things to, for me, like stuffing the animal head, sculpting the noses and the antlers, and then painting the wood, and blah, blah, blah. You have to do all that, plus your social media, running your Etsy shop, balancing, and, just day-to-day life things. It can be a little overwhelming.
It can. And I think that, we all think like, well, I love this so much, and if it's my passion, then I'm going to want to work on it every second I am awake, and it will never feel monotonous, and it will never feel like my brain is bleeding a little bit. And I don't think that that's like, there will be days where you sit down to go do it and go, whew, I think I need a second to talk to another human, or I just can't do this right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And it can be hard too. When you have friends that are working day jobs still that maybe aren't happy there, that's the case in a lot of cases. You got a boss that bothers you, whatever, a stressful job, and then, you're working for yourself and you're lonely and you want to call your friends and be like, oh, my day today, I had this terrible email and I'm just so lonely. And they're like, seriously, like, you don't even know. You get, it's kind of hard to translate that with people that aren't going through it. So again, community really comes into play. People that are doing the same things you are sometimes are the only ones that can really understand you through that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just great to have those people around. And also, I'm sure it's great to go into like the health food store where you've known people forever. You know the business. It's like second nature to you at this point, I'm sure. And
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And you can just clear your mind of all of it. Then you don't really have to.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, I'm like, I feel so free when I'm there now. I used to be much more involved, like, and stressed out when, we were having a stressful day, and now it's like, here I am just to help. And I always tell everyone, like, I feel so helpful today. I had the best day. Like, I helped people with the most random things. I look up a phone number for someone and just feel great about it. Because I'm like, I'm not helping anybody directly at home other than, making their walls look better, I guess. I don't know. It's a good feeling.
Well, and I'm sure it's also a great reminder of like, oh yeah, this is why I like being my own boss and I need to keep hustling for my job because this is great every once in a while, but I prefer my life and my job better.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Like you were saying, you kind of hope, you think in the beginning, like, well, this is my passion. It will never get old, or it's not even, I mean, I wouldn't say it gets old, but it still gets stressful. But one thing I always remind myself of is, I'm either going to go through day-to-day work stress for someone else's dream, or I'm going to go through all of the same basic stress, in different ways for my own dream. Like, I felt like I was kind of, working hard and fueling someone else's. And I have such a big one. I couldn't ignore that anymore. It had to get some attention.
Yeah. It's so much better to bust your butt for this vision that you have. So much better.
Yes.
Yeah.
For your own baby.
Exactly. For your own little Stitch of Whimsy baby.
For your own big-eyed animal baby.
They're so cute. I'm dying. So for anybody out there who's got this big idea, they know that they love to make something that's a little different, or they really just like believe that these things are cute or think that they might do well, but they're terrified that there is no customer base for it. Do you have any advice for them?
I believe that there's a customer base for everyone. I really, really do. I think it's a matter of you finding them. So if that is your case, first of all, get going, start making it. The idea is never going to get you anywhere unless you actually, put the work into it and create the product so people can see it. You can't explain the idea that you have to someone and expect them to, want to buy it from you without seeing it. You got to just do it. Just start doing it.
Yeah.
And then maybe invest some of your time into, networking, learning how to market your products and using social media, things like that. You have to find your people, but believe that they're out there. You have to believe that they are out there. I do. I think there's somebody for everyone. I've seen it all.
Yeah.
People are selling everything. It's just, everyone's different, and if one person doesn't like your stuff, or if 50 people don't like your stuff one day, it doesn't mean that nobody does. I'll give you a good example. Where, my hometown basically is called Stewart, right outside of Port St. Lucie. I've tried to do a couple arts and crafts shows here. My hometown does not seem to understand my work. Of course, some, a few here and there, but I am telling you, I had the hardest time with people in this area really getting me. Had I never gone further down south or up north, I probably would have been really discouraged and thought, like, this is never going anywhere. If the internet hadn't been so gracious and gotten so huge, I might have given up. Honestly, it was like so discouraging. People hear like, nautical stuff, and it's a lot of the same things, and they all sell like crazy. But I did my own thing, and they, I heard some really, really kind of rude comments even at some of these shows. And I couldn't believe it. I just kept saying, like, my hometown has betrayed me. Like, my hometown does not understand me. This is where I'm from. Like, I'm a part of these streets and everything. I know all these people. It's very crazy. You just never know. But I found my people.
Absolutely.
They're all over the place.
Yeah. And how long have you been making these taxidermy heads?
I think that it's been about 8 years with them.
And I dare to say that you were absolutely cutting edge in the way that now, like then creepy cute really became a thing, and just like whimsical beyond belief came a thing. Like, just
right.
And people just being like, this is the cutest thing. It makes me want to puke. It's so cute. So I have to have it.
A lot of those faces. Yeah. It's so cute. But I know that's a good thing.
Yes, exactly. Because now it is, kids' rooms are much more whimsical. People's houses are much more whimsical. And if you had just said, well, Stuart doesn't get it, which I've actually been to Stuart, so I can very much understand that Stuart wouldn't understand it.
No, they'll get fish and crabs and things like that. Mark my words, I'm coming back this year with them. I'm going to test them, but yeah.
That's true.
Touristy, whimsical creatures, not so much, not everyone, but yeah.
Yeah, and do you do well with mermaids there? I would think mermaids might do well there.
Oh, they would definitely do well. That's like almost specifically why I haven't really done them.
Yeah.
I'm mad at you, Stuart. I'm not going to do what you want me to do. I'm going to keep doing what I love to do.
I'm not doing it, beach people. I'm not doing it.
I made mermaids for my special customers, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see if they deserve another chance.
But I really love what you just said right there, because it is huge. It's like, well, if these people aren't getting it, go out and find the people that are getting it, because they're
out there, man.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think you could even probably, I'm coming up with this off the cusp, so stay with me here, Sarah. But I think that people could, that's a great thing to do on Instagram. Who's out there making weird shit?
Yes.
Go find people making weird stuff and doing great at it. And then it'll help build you up and realize, well, if they like that thing and they're doing really well with that thing that's so different from what other people are doing, and like you said, make it. Don't just let it be an idea. Yes. Make it.
And I'll tell you what, if you have a hard time finding unusual things that are doing great on Instagram, send me a message, because I will send you some of my favorites. And it's like, when I got started to really use Instagram, I was like, oh my God, I'm not alone. There's this whole world of people that just make weird things because they feel like doing it, and and they're doing great. It was amazing. Prior to all that, you just don't know. It can seem like so big and scary.
Yes.
You were saying before, some people that you speak to still don't have social media like that. If you're an artist, you got it. You just have to do it. It's free. Just do it. You have to do it.
There. Your tribe is out there.
No one's going to find you if you don't put yourself out there. What's that quote? You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
Absolutely.
I think of that all the time.
Yes.
It's so true. Just try it. Just do it. You don't know what's going to happen. You meet one good customer that's a repeat. You just never know.
And then you came up with that great quote that nobody's ever heard before. Just do it.
Yes, just do it, everybody. Yeah. Whimsy. PM. Yes,
you can go ahead and trademark it. I'm sure there will be no issues with that.
No problems at all. I'm going to get t-shirts made later tonight. So.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Okay, so if you are ready, I am ready to head into the 3 Creative Women's League musts.
Okay, I'm ready.
Let's do this. So what is one thing every badass woman should read, watch, or listen to?
All right, I know that this has been mentioned probably multiple times, even on your podcast, but my favorite is You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero.
It's the best.
Everybody, you hear about it a lot, and I was like, maybe I should pick something different, but it is truly the best for me. When I'm feeling like starting to lose it and just feeling, stressed out, like things aren't going good, I put that audiobook on, and man, she gets your ass into gear within 20 minutes of listening. You're like, all right, quit pouting. Get to work, get going. It really does it for me. I totally love it.
And I think it helps for a lot of us out there because she, too, is a weirdo at heart. So it's so nice.
Our people.
Yeah, exactly. So it's so nice to listen to somebody who's not She doesn't talk too flowery. She's going to throw in some F-bombs. Like, it's just so nice to hear somebody talk in your voice.
Yes, exactly. It was so refreshing. Like, you know, I had people telling me to listen, or, you know, I do a lot of audiobooks for obvious reasons. I'm always sewing or something.
Yeah.
But so many people are telling me to read or listen to this for months and months and months. Just, it kept on coming up everywhere I was going. I'm like, what is going on? And finally I gave in. I was like, this is never going to work for me. I'm not into, like, you know, self-help style books. I was totally wrong. It really, it's awesome. You gotta get it.
I love
especially like the audio version. You just put it on your car, put it on your headphones, and
yeah. You have to, because she's so funny.
I gotta say this though, because it, you know, read, watch, or listen to. I gotta get creepy with you for a second. My favorite show ever. It was made in like 2000 or something. It's called 6 Feet Under. I don't know if you saw this.
Yes. Yeah.
This is my favorite show. And this might have nothing to do, you know, or seemingly have nothing to do with any of the things we're talking about. But that show, you know, about a family that runs a funeral home, and it deals a lot with death. Might be creepy and dark. A lot of people think I'm sick and depressing because I love it so much. That really gets my mind into perspective when I'm having a hard time making a big move towards something I want to do, like, you know, quit my job or do a big project, or I'm losing confidence, because it reminds me that life truly is very short and fickle. And you really got to do as much as you can with the time that you're given. And, you know, what are you waiting for, basically?
Absolutely.
I love it. Everybody should watch it, but you have to watch every episode, trust me.
Oh, it's so good.
You will think I'm crazy, but you have to watch it to the very end. Just do it. Let me know what you think. So good.
That was my first introduction into, because, like, I started watching it and was probably too young to, like, really understand it. So I went back and ended up watching it later again. But it was my first introduction into a TV show that was really taking on, like, social issues.
Yeah. Yep. Social issues. And really, like, you know, I could talk about, we could have a whole podcast. That's how much I love it. But, like, seeing, you know, the people, the good and the bad in people, but you just, like, grow to love them. And bottom line, it's like,
so good.
Shows how precious life is. And I don't want to get all, like, you know,
just make everybody watch it.
Man, it's so, it's so true. Like, we only have so much time. How long are you going to wait to make the change or make a step towards what you really want to see your life as?
Yeah.
All I know is I don't ever want to look back and say, I wish I would have tried with Stitch of Whimsy, or, you know, I should have done this. That really makes me crazy and motivates me all the time.
My boyfriend says a lot. He'll say, like, would you end up regretting it if you didn't do it? Whenever because I wax poetic over things all the time, or I wane, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Should I am, and I'm not going to, I am, and he's like, okay, well, which would you regret more? And then that gives you your answer. Question. Yeah, that gives you your answer really quick and easy. So yeah, I co-sign on I co-sign on both of them technically, but 6 Feet Under is so good.
It's so good.
Okay, so who is one woman we should all go follow right now?
I'm going to tell you my favorite. Those of you who already follow me probably know she's my favorite. Mab Graves is my favorite artist, and you should follow her on social media because she is wildly talented and diverse in the many things that she makes, as well as extremely kind and generous and caring person. I love her to death. I would be shocked if any of you hadn't already heard of her, but she's my favorite. Everybody should follow her.
Perfect. I don't know if I'm following her, so I'm going to go do it.
What? She is the best. She makes the most, like, you know, how we're talking about, there's a market for everything. She will make anything, and she turns it into gold. She just does what she feels like doing and is doing so great. And I think a lot of it has to do with her work with her community. You know, she works with other artists a lot, helps to promote them. She really is, she's just my favorite.
I love it. Perfect. I love having new people to follow, so that's wonderful. And then last but not least, what is one mantra, quote, or affirmation that you lean on often?
Just do it. No, I'm just kidding.
Perfect.
I'm just kidding. We're not going to do it again. I had to really think about this one because I'm like, because one of those, you know, quote people. I have like Post-its all over my studio space, all over the house with like little quotes. Remind yourself of this. But one that I have hanging up in several places is to quote the great one, Macklemore.
Oh, perfect. Mm-hmm.
The greats weren't great because at first they could paint. The greats were great because they paint a lot. It's like a simple line that I heard in a song of his when I saw him at Sunfest last year. And I thought, oh my God, it is just that simple. Like, you can, be in a room with 10 people and you all were born with the same talent. But the ones that really are going to make it far are the ones that are actually painting every day and working every day and getting themselves out there. There's not a huge difference in, me being able to work for myself and a lot of people I know that are struggling, aside from the fact that I'm, continuously doing it. It's not a talent thing, it's just, you got to work at it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love when inspiration comes in like random places or, a lyric that somebody else might not have paid enough attention to.
Exactly. That one yelled at me. It yelled at me. And my best friend just loves Macklemore, took me to see him, and I was like, oh, how is it? And I've loved him ever since. He's hilarious. But that damn song gets me every time.
That is fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Sara. This has been so awesome. I've loved this.
Yeah, it was so nice to talk to you. Next, we'll have one about 6 Feet Under after you guys all watch it.
Yep, we're going to start our own podcast together about 6 Feet Under.
It's going to be great.
We'll go episode by episode. Yeah.
Yes. I'm in.
It'll be 3 hours each episode we do, right? Because we have so much to talk about. So, yeah.
Yep, 3 hours each episode. We'll be busy.
So
we should get started right away.
We really should. Actually, we'll just continue. The people can just listen to it. They'll listen to an hour of you and then 3 hours of 6 Feet Under.
Perfect.
Great.
It's a plan.
So before you head out, will you tell everybody where to find you?
Yep, Stitch of Whimsy. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook. I guess that's pretty much it for the most part. I would love to hear from you. If you, found out about me through this podcast, let me know. If you have any questions about anything that I mentioned before, talk to me. I love a community, and I get very lonely sometimes, so I'm totally the meet new friends.
I love it so much. Yeah, and we'll have all the links. Everybody can click around and find you in the show description.
Yeah, you can go to stitchofwhimsy.com. That'll take you to my Etsy, but, at Stitch of Whimsy is probably where I communicate the most on Instagram.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sara. I have loved this.
Thank you, Kate. Thanks for having me.
And you did fab on your first podcast. This has been great.
Oh, good. I was freakishly nervous, but not as bad as if you had a camera in my face. So hopefully I didn't sound like a complete idiot.
No, you've done great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much to Sara for being on the show. I'm so glad we finally made this happen. I hope that all of you out there who feel that you don't have a target audience, that nobody wants to spend money on this thing that you love to make, that it's too weird, it's too cutesy, it's too whatever. I hope that we were able to give you some inspiration to get out there and make it happen. I know you can do it. Sara knows you can do it. We all know you can do it. We're behind you on it. So go follow us on Instagram. Get over into the Facebook group. Get that review up on iTunes so I can give you a shout out right here. And of course, subscribe. I know that's the part where I'm so needy in all of this. But I just want to be able to get you all the inspiration, motivation, community, and know-how that you deserve, because you are a total creative badass and you are going to do very big things in this world. I know it. I'm highly confident in this. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you on Monday. you're still here, it's over. Go home.